One final climb.
I realized just like how busy and fast people live.
Vamos.
If you're kind of looking for a surf slash hiking, can't get much better.
3 more miles. We did it.
Hi everybody, Jorge Peruzzi here. I'm going to do a quick recap of my Camino del Norte journey, why I did it, how I did it, what could have been better, what could have been worse, kind of share my experience, inspire you, and maybe you take something away from this, maybe you don't. I'm mostly just doing this to kind of reflect on the journey, understand what I went through, and put it into perspective. Let's get into it. I only did a small section of it. To get your Compostela, you have to do the final 100 kilometers and end in Santiago de Compostela, which is the final cathedral. That's where you can kind of get your certificate. But you have to do the final 100 kilometers, and I didn't do that. I did the first 100 kilometers.
There's the nice little marker.
But I also really want to surf in San Sebastian. That was a huge part of it for me, and I did that, and I had a great time. For me, this trip was not only about Camino del Norte, it was about surfing San Sebastian, it was about exploring the area, a longer hike, sort of like a backpacking trip. This checked both boxes. If you're kind of looking for a surf slash hiking, can't get much better.
Makes it very enjoyable. Don't need all trails.
I have done the Inca Trail in Peru in 4 days, which I really enjoyed. The Lost Coast in Northern California in around 4 days. Colorado Trail as well. And those are kind of the longer hikes I've done, and I've really enjoyed all of those. Wanted to have a similar experience in Europe, and I thought maybe Camino de Santiago was what could help me achieve that, and I think it did. The way I did it specifically is I wanted to make it easy to land in San Sebastian and to surf, and I only had about 7 or 8 days to do this. I flew in on a Thursday into Bilbao, and I had to fly out the next Friday. My trip was basically broken into 3 days of hiking, then 2 to 3 days of surfing, and then another 2 days of hiking. The first 3 days were by far the most intense. That kind of burned me out a little bit. That's why I wanted to surf and take a little bit break in the middle. I flew into Bilbao, took a bus immediately to San Sebastian. From there, I started the hike, and I booked Gran camping Zarautz Hostel, which is about 25, 26 kilometers, I think, give or take, from San Sebastian. But I kind of started a little bit further in the city, so it added a couple more kilometers. By the time I started the hike, it was around 3 p.m. I think I landed, I don't remember exactly, but around 12, 12:30. It took me a while to get out of the city, then find the bus. I went to the intermodal bus station. From there, I took a bus around like 1:30. I had a small snack, and I got to San Sebastian at 2:30, and then I got on the trail around 3-ish. And I was trying to make it by 8-ish to the hostel. Then there was a hotel right next to Grand Camping Zarautz that I really recommend. Had a really nice view into the beach, and I had a nice steak there, some fries and a salad, and that was a great dinner after a long day of hiking. It was pretty well managed for a hostel. They kind of created like a tent, and they put some kind of dividers into the rooms, and the room I was in had 2 sets of bunks, so 4 people could stay. So I kind of had my own room, but of course there was no walls, it was like tent, so you could kind of still hear people, but at least you had a little bit of privacy, a little bit of sound isolation. Spent around 33 euros the first night. A little bit difficult to sleep. People were a bit loud till maybe 12, 1 in the morning. I got into bed around like 11. I heard people kind of talking, loud, drinking right outside the room. Slept all right. I think I got woken up around, I don't know, 5:36. Second day was also a surf day. So I woke up, I wanted to surf Zarautz, so I went immediately. I dropped my backpack off at the surf school. I rented a board, I surfed for about 2 hours. Got a couple waves. Yeah, nothing super special. I was a bit rusty because I hadn't surfed in about 6 months, but it was great. I surfed from about 10 a.m. to noon. Then again, Zarautz to Deba was the destination. And this was one of the highlights. I didn't really want to go on the Camino de Santiago because I heard the GR route was better, and that goes by the Flysch Cliffs, and that was one of the highlights for me. So I wanted to ensure I can get that. So what I did is I got to the Flysch Cliffs, and from Zumaya, that's where I started going on the GR, and I kind of stopped following the yellow arrows for a second. Met another couple on the trail, and we hiked it maybe 3 or 4 hours together at the end. So that was definitely one of the highlights for me. I would say jump in the water. If you can at the Flysch Cliffs and you have some time, jump in the water. That's one thing I regret that I didn't do. I was a bit rushed, and I was like, I'm gonna keep going, and looking back at it, I wish I went in for a swim there because it was just so picturesque, so beautiful. We got into Deba, and the 2 people I was hiking with offered to give me a ride, so my accommodation was in Mutriku. It was a bit tough to get accommodation on the weekend. I think that was a Friday night. Tried to get in Deba, was nothing available on booking or nothing I could find, and I ended up getting something in Mutriku. Just like, it's called like Aldi rooms. It's pretty good. Yeah, just, I don't remember, like 70 or 80. The third day was from Mutriku to Lekeito, but it was all along a road where cars were driving, and there was a really small little section where you could really fit, and not a great trail. You're on the road, it's not a trail. This hike was not my favorite. There's buses coming by, there's cars, so I wouldn't really recommend that part. If you can skip it, I would. I basically just wanted to go to Lekeito so I can get another surf day, I can get a beach day. It was, I think, about 85 to 90, and I was supposed to go through Guernica. There was one town before Guernica, so I missed that stage because I saw it was so hot inland. I decided to stay out on the coast, and I think that was a good idea. I stayed in Lekeito Saturday, Sunday. That gave me an extra day to rest. First day in Lekeito, I surfed. The second day, I kind of hung out, chilled. Then I went to Bermeo. So actually in Lekeito, what was really nice is I stayed at homestay. It's called like Sabrina Arena 9, and I'll link it in the description. It's a homestay. You get a shared bathroom, you get your own room. I think it was around 70 or 80 euros. But what I really liked is I got to experience some of the Basque culture from a local. He got to tell me, you know, I told him I wanted to do a little bit more surfing, a little bit more beach activities. So he recommended Bermeo. He also told me that, you know, Guernica I could probably miss. So I took his advice, went to Bermeo instead, stayed there for 2 nights. First night when I got to Bermeo, didn't do much, just chilled on the beach, went in for the swim, and then the second day, I did a full day tour. I went to San Juan Gaztelugatxe. I'm not very good at pronouncing it. That's where they film Dragonstone, and that's one of the main tourist attractions. It's a really cool, like, rock walkway. That whole day, I went to San Juan Gaztelugatxe, basically surfing in the morning. I went to Bakkio Beach. That was really nice. I went to my only Michelin star lunch. I think I only spent 35 euros or something like that, but it was really, really delicious. Had a great day in Bermeo. Highly recommend if you want to check out a nice, great seafood area. Also, Bakkio Beach is great for surfing too. Also close to Mundaka, which is that legendary surfing wave. So that was day 4 and 5. Basically, once I was done with Bermeo, the weather cooled down a little bit. This was the final part of the hike for me, and that would be to take the train from Bermeo to Guernica and to hike from Guernica to Bilbao. This was a nice part of the hike, and what I did is I broke it up into 2 nights. I did about 24, 25 kilometers to Lezama, and then the last 10 to 12K was to Bilbao, and I'm happy I did that because it kind of broke it down a little bit. It would have been too much to do all in one day. I stayed at a nice Airbnb in Lezama. I can recommend, and I'll drop that in the description. Didn't have AC, so it was pretty tough to sleep. It was still hot, and even if it wasn't that hot outside, the room itself was hot. There's not much to eat or not much to see in Lezama, so what I did is I just took Uber, and then I trained back to get some dinner in Bilbao. I met a Romanian guy that was a bus driver the night before. He took me from Bilbao back to Lezama. I talked to him, we exchanged numbers, and we got a coffee. He's local, he's lived there for 25 years. He took me around, he showed me the Bilbao Atletico Stadium. He went to the Guggenheim, we walked around some of the cool architecture. Another highlight of the trip for me was that last day walking from Lezama to Bilbao. I met another pilgrim on the way, and I stopped there with the pilgrim. We got some food, took a selfie, got some good chats in, so that was really nice. So that was kind of my trip. Basically 3 hiking days at the beginning, and then another 2 at the end, and then the rest was kind of chill, beach, and surfing. Now let's talk about the takeaways. Well, first of all, I lost a decent amount of weight. I think I lost like 8 to 10 pounds, not on purpose. Like, especially the first 3 days, I was full on, like, dripping sweat. I had an 8-kilogram pack, which is much too heavy. For most people on the Camino. I did take my camera. It was my Sony a6400, and I took a pretty sizable lens. That might have added a kilo right there. But overall, I'm happy with what I packed. I think I packed like 3 pairs of everything, 3 pairs of shorts, 3 pairs of underwear, 3 pairs of socks. I used everything. The light rain jacket, I also used it because it rained one of the last days. Make sure you also pack a rain cover for your gear as well. Pack light, of course. You need to hydrate and stay fueled. I think that's something I could have done better on the trails. I wasn't really eating that much. I was just getting off to late starts. That made it so that I would hike during the hottest part of the day, then I would sweat more, get dehydrated, and I think that was just kind of a cycle for me. I still took about 3 to 4 electrolyte tablets a day. I just bought some from Decathlon, those were great. So yeah, definitely lost a lot of weight at the end. I went from like 12.4% body fat to 11.2. I did right around 102 miles. That's including just walking, you know, exploring. Like, I went from the hostel and like walked around to get good shots of the sunset and things like that. So let me show you. I went from like, yeah, this was the first day, 18 miles. The second day was 20 miles. The third day was 17. These were the rest days, 10, 7, 9. This was the Lezama from Guernica to Lezama. And the last day was Lezama to Bilbao. So yeah, that was right around 100 miles. So a lot of walking. I got a blister. I do recommend making sure you have a wide toe box because my shoe, I had the Asics Gel Kayano 31. I had a narrow toe box, and that meant that I got a pretty annoying blister. Nothing to write home about. I would just bandage it up every day. It was just a little naggy. I guess this is why I really want to make the video in the first place, to kind of wrap my head around what I learned. So the reason I left and wanted to do this trip was to kind of clear my mind. Just felt like my brain was very foggy and my thoughts were very scattered. And I think partially was just, watching the news, just being at home 24/7 on my laptop, like not immersing myself in nature. There's not like that many national parks in Netherlands. There's of course Texel and other national parks, but there's not as much nature as I would love. That was stressing me out a little bit, and I just wanted to kind of, basically completely get out of my routine, do everything the opposite. So low tech, no news, listen to my own thoughts instead of podcasts, really be in nature, be outside the whole day. I think I did that. I think I could have been even more low tech, of course. I didn't need to bring my camera, but I love taking photos, so that's for me kind of a non-negotiable. I still listen to some music on the tougher sections of the hikes, and that's completely fine. I think that was great. I also listened to some podcasts on the longer days, just to kind of make the time pass a little bit while I was alone. And I think I really did get what I wanted out of it. I really did clear my mind. I think it also brought to me a sense of just following my own path. I think that was kind of the takeaway that I got, is to really listen to yourself and lean into yourself versus taking advice from others. And especially, I think parents, of course, parents want the best from us, but something I've been thinking about a lot is I'm living the life that my parents want me to live, but I'm not living my own life, especially with my career choice going into tech. And that's something that my parents influenced me a lot. They're like, you should do this, it's a great job, and of course it is. Am I actually living my own life, or am I just living someone else's life? For the last 32 years, I think it has been more living someone else's life versus my own. And I think the Camino helped me become more okay with living my own path, just being alone and taking my own actions, taking my own steps, and being okay that nobody's on my path. That's completely fine. I remember I stopped on the trail one of the last days, not a person on the trail. I stopped for 3 to 4 hours to read and journal. I didn't see a person, I didn't hear a thing. It was really nice to just have time with my thoughts. Like in my brain, it was just blank. I was listening to nature, I was listening to the birds. It's not like I had some crazy revelation or anything. I don't need to, right? It was just a good time to take away and to relax and to recharge the batteries, I think, for me. I do feel a different person when I came out of it. First of all, I basically cried nonstop after I got on the plane and started coming back home. I don't know why, I just got hit with a bunch of emotions. I was also really exhausted. I didn't really sleep well throughout the trip. I think it was just really hot. Most of the places didn't have AC. If they did have AC, it would turn off after 10, 15 minutes. New bed every day, more or less. You're packing up, packing out every single day. You're kind of, trying to make sure you're on a time schedule to hit the next spot. So I guess a lot of people are not sleeping the best, and that's fine. That's not the number one objective. And then, also when I got home, I think the one interesting takeaway was just I realized just how busy and fast people live. One thing that I really enjoyed in the north of Spain is that I felt like people were a little bit less connected to technology. So I didn't see people staring at their phones like on the buses. I didn't see people staring at their phones at restaurants. I didn't see people staring at their phones as much waiting in line. And I tried to do the same, to kind of take part in the culture and try to de-tech myself. And not every single second that I'm waiting, not doing something, I'm not looking at my phone. So I try to be better at that. But coming back to Amsterdam, it did feel like everyone's just on their phone, immediately trying to get to the next place, or just really busy, just really, streets are full. It's also, summer, so we get more tourists in Amsterdam. But it was just a rude awakening when I got back. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what real life is. Always moving, always doing something. It just felt like I was thrown back into it. And it was a very rude and tough kind of reverse culture shock, I would say. Just coming back to responsibility, to plan, schedule, work, it was just a tough, reawakening. I think also just going on this adventure by myself, I think has been really interesting, because people are trying to ask me, how was it? Was it a spiritual revelation? How do you feel? And it's so hard to put into words how I feel afterwards, and that's why I'm creating this video. But it's gonna be really impossible to really share those feelings without, experiencing it. At the end of the day, the Camino was about finding myself and finding my path. It's a continuous journey. There's no end to that, right? People are always reinventing themselves. They're always trying new things. And for me, it gave me space and freedom to choose my own path, to follow my heart, and to follow my own intuition, which I think is getting increasingly harder in this day and age with social media, with the news, and just being bombarded with information. I think it's important to cut yourself off from that once in a while, to get back to your own thoughts and to take away all those influences. Just do it, listen to yourself. And I highly recommend people take the Camino. I think getting the Compostela and getting the stamp and certificate is great, but at the end of the day, the most important part is the journey of walking it. It's difficult. It's a very long walk, so you have so much time to think. You have so much time to see this new culture, this beautiful coastline, just to be with your thoughts. And it's beautiful nature, incredible food. I love the cuisine. Some of the best seafood I've ever had in my life, probably the best I've ever had in my life. Enough. I really love San Sebastian, really love Bilbao. And I really urge people to do what they need to do to be able to listen to your own thoughts. Maybe that's just going for a walk in the park without your phone. Maybe that's going for a meditation. Also for myself, I would love to spend a little bit more time intentionally listening to my thoughts. So that's it. That's my Camino journey. I'm definitely going to go back and redo at least some different parts of the Camino. I want to do it with friends and explore the country, the Basque Country a little bit more with friends and with people I enjoy. Thanks for watching. If you got to this far, appreciate you. And don't forget to comment below if you have any questions about the Camino and your favorite part of the Camino too. Thanks for watching. Cheers.